Balance is one of the most misused words in modern spirituality. It is spoken as if it were the highest virtue, the final state, the proof of wisdom. But balance is not power. Balance is a temporary condition that exists only when two forces cancel each other out. The trident does not cancel forces, it governs them. Balance implies equality. Control implies authority. Most people who seek balance are not seeking mastery. They are seeking relief. They want opposing pressures to stop pulling on them at the same time. They want tension reduced. They want conflict resolved without decision. Balance promises comfort. Control demands responsibility. The trident was never designed to keep things equal. It was designed to keep things functional. In living systems, balance is unstable. It is a movement between movements, not a state that can be held indefinitely. Ecosystems fluctuate. Bodies fluctuate. Civilizations fluctuate. Minds fluctuate. When balance is frozen and idealized, systems suffocate. They stop adapting. They lose responsiveness. What people call balance is often stagnation disguised as harmony. The trident rejects this illusion. It does not attempt to equalize forces. It assigns dominance based on context. At certain moments, creation must outweigh destruction. At other moments, too, destruction must outweigh creation. At others, nothing should move at all. Control lies in knowing which force must lead, allowing the other forces to recede without being erased. This is why the trident is not democratic. Forces are not given equal say. They are developed. Modern spirituality trains people to distrust control because control has been associated with domination, abuse, and rigidity. But what is actually feared is not control, it is accountability. Control means someone must decide. Someone must bear the weight of consequence. Balance allows responsibility to be diffused. Control concentrates it. The feminine has been deliberately mischaracterized as the guardian of balance to strip it of authority. Balance sounds gentle. Control sounds dangerous. But ancient feminine goddess systems were not balanced. They were exact. They moved decisively. They withheld. They released and ended without apology. They understood that life survives not through fairness, but through regulation. Control is not force. It is condition setting. A river does not balance its banks. It controls its course through gravity, pressure, and terrain. The ocean does not balance tides. It commands them through lunar pool. A womb does not balance hormones. It regulates them. Balance is a byproduct of successful control, not its objective. The trident functions the same way. It does not seek equilibrium between womb, blade, and law. It allows one to dominate when the system demands it. This domination is not permanent. It shifts as conditions change. That shifting is the mark of intelligence, not instability. Those who observe and obsess over balance often fear choosing. They want every decision to feel morally neutral. But neutrality is not wisdom. It is avoidance. Every real decision creates asymmetry. Something is favored. Something is diminished. Something is ended. Control accepts this. Balance resists it. This is why balance-focused spirituality collapses under pressure. When stakes arises, neutrality becomes paralysis. When threat appears, balance delays response. When decay sets in, balance preserves what should be cut. Control moves when movement is required, even if it disrupts equilibrium. The Trident teaches control because control is what keeps systems alive beyond ideal conditions. When resources are scarce, balance fail. When conflict arises, balance fail. When time runs out, balance fail. Control will adjust priorities. Control relocates and reallocates forces. Control ends what cannot be sustained. The misunderstanding of control as tyranny comes from observing control without law. Tyranny is control driven by insecurity. The Trident is control governed by intelligence. It does not need to dominate continuously. It intervenes precisely. This precision is what makes it uncomfortable to observe. People accustomed to balance expect constant reassurance. They want to see fairness expressed visibly. Control does not perform fairness, it produces outcomes. In relationships, this distinction is critical. Balance-based relationship attempts to keep exchanges equal at all times. Who gave more? Who compromised more? Who is owed what? This creates constant negotiation and resentment. Trident-based relationships operate on control of direction. They ask whether the relationship is growing, stabilizing, or decaying, and they act accordingly. Sometimes one partner will lead, sometimes the other one will withdraw. Sometimes the relationship ends. Equality is not the metric, coherence is. In leadership, balance creates committees. Control creates strategy. Committees delay decisions to preserve harmony. Strategy accepts temporary discomfort to preserve the system. Feminine leadership rooted in the Trident does not attempt to please all parties. It sets conditions under which the system can survive. This is why such leadership is often criticized as cold and unfair. Fairness is a human preference. Survival is a systemic requirement. The Trident prioritizes the latter without apology. The illusion of balance is particularly seductive in spiritual communities because it allows people to feel virtuous without being effective. You can say you are balanced without having made a single difficult decision in your life. You can claim harmony whilst avoiding confrontation. You can preach peace whilst relying on others to enforce boundaries for you. Control, on the other hand, exposes this dependency. It reveals who is actually holding the structure together and who is benefiting from the appearance of equilibrium. The Trident does not distribute power evenly. It distributes responsibility. Those who hold the Trident accept that some movement will require creation at the expense of comfort. Others distraction at the expense of attachment, others restraint at the expense of desire. This is not balanced living, it is governed living. This is also why the Trident does not promise inner peace. Peace is episodic. It rises when forces are aligned temporarily. Control allows peace to emerge, but does not cling to it. When peace becomes a liability, it is broken. Many people fear this because they equate peace with safety. But safety requires, without adaptability, is fragility. The Trident values resilience over serenity. The feminine has always known this at a bodily level. The body does not balance hunger indefinitely. It eats or it becomes weak. It does not balance infection. It attacks it or it dies. It does not balance labor. It contracts until birth occurs. These are not balanced processes. They are controlled ones. When spirituality disconnects from the body, it forgets this particular truth. It replaces regulation with idealization. The result is spiritual language that sounds elevated but fails to guide action when it matters. Control always requires timing. Acting too early would destabilize things. Acting too late allows decay. Balance has no concept of timing. It treats all moments as equal. The Trident distinguishes between phases. It knows when to act and when to wait. This waiting is often mistaken for passivity. It is not. It is restraint under authority. The ability to wait without losing position is a sign of control, not weakness. Balance waits because it is unsure. It is indecisive. Control waits because it wants to be precise. Another reason balance is celebrated is because it absolves people from consequences. If everyone is balanced, no one is responsible. Control assigns responsibility clearly. Someone must decide. Someone bears the outcome. This clarity is threatening to a system built on diffusion of blame. House of the Trident rejects balance rhetoric because it weakens accountability. It replaces it with control governed by law. This law is not imposed externally. It is internal alignment with reality. What can be sustained? What must be ended? What must be delayed? The Trident is not about dominating others. It is about governing conditions. When conditions are governed correctly, behaviors adjust naturally. This is more efficient and less violent than constant enforcement. Balance requires constant maintenance. Control requires periodic intervention. This is why control scales and balance does not. Small groups can maintain balance through constant negotiation. Large systems cannot. They require law, hierarchy of forces, and decisive correction. This is not a rejection of care. Care without control becomes indulgence. Control without care becomes brutality. The Trident integrates both, but it does not treat them as equal at all times. Those who truly embody the Trident stops trying to appear balanced. They stop explaining their decisions through moral language. They act, observe outcome, and adjust. Their authority does not come from consistency of tone, but from consistency of results. This makes them difficult to categorize. They may appear gentle one moment and severe the next. They may create and destroy within the same cycle. Observers accuse them of contradiction. In reality, they are responding to different phases of the same system. Balanced, focused minds cannot tolerate this. They want predictability. Control-focused minds accept variability as the price of effectiveness. This teaching is not an invitation to become domineering. It is an invitation to stop confusing equilibrium with mastery. The Trident does not promise you will feel centered. It promises you will remain functional under pressure. Balance is what you seek. You want tension to stop. Balance is what you seek when you want tension to stop. Control is what you develop when you accept tension as information. House of the Trident teaches control because control is what keeps power from collapsing into chaos or dissolving into sentiment. It is what allows creation to be meaningful, distraction to be clean, and restraint to be strategic. The Trident is not balance, it is command over movement. And command, when governed by law, is the only form of power that truly endures.